So Workhorse has dropped 15% from its all-time highs. We haven't heard that much from the USPS contract, and we again see some weak hands freak out. Now, there is nothing wrong with being bearish on a stock, but it makes me wonder how many people are actually investing in these things for their fundamentals and their long-term cases, when all it takes is a lack of news for a couple of days for people to lose their minds. So as we take a look at the Workhorse stock chart, we see that we are now around 3 weeks away from the all-time highs of $30 a share, and at the time of this video, the valuation is $24 a share. That's around 20% down from the all-time highs. Why is this? Well, it is quite simple, in my opinion. Workhorse is just another one of those stocks that has fallen victim to the weak hands buying and selling based on news. And if you haven't heard the term weak hands before, it is basically about people who haven't done any real research on a stock, and all it takes for them to get hyped up and jump into that stock is a news article basically saying that this stock is good. Now, news and updates on a company is of course something useful for any investor to read and follow, but that just becomes another argument in a list of bullish and bearish points that they should have set up. On the other hand, one article can be enough to buy or sell a stock for maybe a new or naive investor who is looking to make a quick buck on the stock market, which is of course very difficult, by the way. In case you're new here, my name is Sam and I'm just passionate about investing, and especially in companies that are made for the future, such as Workhorse. Also subscribe to the channel if you want to see me cover these companies more. Around 95% of you guys are not subscribed, and I absolutely love it if it was the other way around. Now let's continue. So to illustrate what I mean when I talk about people panicking over random news is the recent wave of worry I have seen in regards to this article, which is actually quite old. And it talks about how insiders in the Workhorse company have sold stocks in it. Let's take a look at it and figure out whether this should influence one's decision to invest in Workhorse or not. So this basically says that the CEO and president of Workhorse sold 50,000 shares at an average price of $25.78, along with directors also selling their stocks in the middle of September. Oh no, this must mean that they know something about Workhorse that we don't, right? They think it's gonna go down. No. This is what I would call lazy due diligence. You see, a lot of these directors and CEOs get paid in stock options or shares, and since insider trading is in fact illegal, they have to use what's called Rule 10b-5-1, which allows major holders to sell a predetermined number of shares at a predetermined time. That is something a lot of executives do in order to avoid accusations of insider trading. It's basically a trading plan. And so basically they have decided to sell these stocks like a month beforehand, and doesn't actually reflect anything that is going on right now in the company. So exercising these options has nothing to do with how good or bad of a company Workhorse is. Maybe they decided to sell their stocks now for tax purposes. Maybe they just needed to free up some money to, I don't know, buy things. Or maybe they felt like they were just holding too much stock and wanted to diversify a bit. There can be a million reasons for why someone would want to sell their shares, but it usually does not indicate that the underlying company is overvalued and should be sold. Now, on the other hand, if the CEO and board started buying stocks, that is a bit of a different story, since that can at least indicate that they are trying to let the public know how confident they are in their company. But regardless, you get my point. If you are an investor and have done your due diligence, then you have nothing to worry about, and you should make up your own mind and stick to it. And unless some crazy news comes out, similar to the Nikola accusations of fraud, you shouldn't worry too much about the short-term noise. Now, obviously, I will still cover the short-term noise since I believe there's a lot to learn from it, and because it really is the collection of all the different things Workhorse has set out to do that makes up a case for the company. And in case you haven't noticed it yet, I am bullish on Workhorse. They make electric last-mile logistic vans and are one of the only companies in the electric vehicle industry that actually focuses on this instead of the semi-trucks that Hyliion and Tesla is working a lot on right now. They have a high potential to disrupt a gigantic $20 billion industry, And with almost 500,000 commercial vehicles being sold in 2019 in US alone, just imagine what would happen if all these buyers decided to start going green and start looking for a great alternative. That's where Workhorse can really shine, and the USPS contract can be a good start to this journey. I'm not sure if Workhorse will get the entire $6 billion, because I can't imagine them needing that many vans, but with the market cap of Workhorse being only $2.5 billion, just imagine what a confirmed contract like that would mean for the company's valuation. And not to mention that Workhorse has a 10% stake in electric pickup truck company Lordstown Motors, which actually was recently endorsed by the President of the United States. And if you don't really believe in the judgment of a random guy on the internet with a Swedish accent, maybe you believe in the judgment of Cathie Wood and her fund ARK Invest, which now has Workhorse as their top 15th holding of around $18 million worth of stock. They have had quite nice returns on their decision to invest in another more famous company involved in the electric vehicle industry, Tesla. And in my view, that should at least increase their credibility when it comes to finding strong EV companies. And as for a price target for Workhorse, you already understand by now that I am in it for a long term. But I really think that it can get to the $100 per share level, and I would not be surprised if it even surpassed that in the coming years. But keep in mind, I would never want to invest in it in the first place if I didn't believe in these kinds of returns, since it is still kind of in the startup phase after all. And I really don't want to come off as one of those permanent bulls, everything is bullish kind of people. Workhorse is obviously a risky, speculative investment, and I would never in 100 years invest my life savings into a company that still really doesn't have too many market shares in the electric vehicle industry. And hey, I wouldn't panic and leave the internet either if the company disappoints 5 years from now, since I am well aware of the struggles an electric vehicle company has to go through in order to disrupt an entire market. But that also increases the potential for bigger gains if it does indeed succeed. Just remember to not trust anyone who speaks to you with absolute confidence regarding a stock, and who uses mental gymnastics to make it seem like every news item on the stock is bullish news. This is just a dream that they are trying to sell to you, and if it really was that easy to make money on the stock market, why would anyone ever want to go to a regular job again? And that concludes today's video, guys. As I said earlier, there seems to be a large portion of the viewership that watches without subscribing, so if you want to encourage me to keep putting out content like this for you, subscribe to the channel. Lastly, please like the video to help the message reach out to more people. I think it is quite important. Be on the lookout for an update as soon as we hear something new from Hylian, Workhorse or the other EV companies. And thank you so much for watching.